Let's solve the quadratic equation that is given. Let's complete the square on this one. Alright, so to complete the square, we're going to first divide everything by the leading coefficient, 2. Okay, right? Want to get rid of this. So divide everything by 2 and end up with x squared minus, it's an understood 1 here, so minus 1/2 x is equal to 1. Okay, so now I'm going to add something to both sides. The question is, what am I adding? Well, you take this number here, this 1/2, you cut it in half, so multiply it by 1/2 and get 1/4. And then you want to square that number. Okay, square it. That'll give you 1/16. Add 1/16 to both sides. Okay, now x squared minus 1/2 x plus 1/16 is a perfect square. It will factor as x, take this sign here, which is minus, minus, and then whatever number you ended up here, 1/4, equals 1 plus 1/16. Remember, 1 is 16/16, so that's 17/16. Okay, so difference of squares. Once you add 1/16 to both sides, the left side will always factor, all right, or the quadratic side will always factor as x plus or minus, depending on whatever sign you had here, and then whatever number you got here when you multiplied the middle by 2. Or 1/2, when you multiplied this by 1/2. I got 1/4. Okay, so now, square root property. I can find the square root of both sides, but I have to remember that that gives me a positive and a negative numerical answer. So on the left, I have x minus 1/4 after the square root and the square cancel out. On the right, I have positive and negative. Square root of 17 is square root of 17 over the square root of 16 is 4. Okay, now to get x by itself, add 1/4 to both sides. Of course, adding 1/4 to plus or minus square root of 17 over 4, they have common denominators, so I can just write it all as one fraction, positive 1 plus or minus the square root of 17 all over 4. This is the same solution that you would get if you use the quadratic formula. We just worked it out with a different method.